If you're a musician or a live sound person, I think you're going to find this next demonstration in Product Spotlight particularly helpful. As a musician, you find yourself in different venues every night. As a sound person, you want to try to have better control over all the instruments on stage. So to that end, we want to do a demonstration and tell you a little bit about the Auralex GRAMMA. And we also have the Great GRAMMA, which is what you see here. The only difference is the size. The Great GRAMMA is a little larger. And what the GRAMMA and the Great GRAMMA do is they simply support and isolate either instrument amplifiers such as this guitar cabinet, bass amplifiers, monitor wedges, any type of loudspeaker in a live environment that you want to isolate from the room. Many times in clubs, churches, any kind of live facility, the stage area where the band or the musicians are placed is often hollow. And so maybe just a riser made of plywood with nothing underneath. And so you find that it starts to vibrate and resonate. And so not only does this change the sound of your amplifier, but from the audience perspective and the perspective of the sound person, it can be really hard to control and get a really tight sound on stage. So the GRAMMA and Great GRAMMA utilize strips of the Auralex platform, which is our denser version of our studio foam, designed specifically for isolation and support. The panel itself that the cabinet rests on is made of MDF, which is medium density fiberboard. And medium density fiberboard is fairly lightweight, but most importantly, it's very rigid. So it's an effective filter and prevents a lot of low frequencies from getting into the stage or the floor. And so the benefit that you're going to experience in a live situation is that when you have less energy getting into the stage, then the microphones that are picking up the sound of the amplifiers are not going to be picking up bleed from other amplifiers. They're only going to be picking up the sound of the amplifier that they're in front of. Putting your wedge monitors or your monitor wedges on top of the GRAMMA can pay big dividends in reducing feedback. You get increased gain before feedback because, again, you're eliminating that path between the microphones and the monitors. So we're going to do a short demo here of the Great GRAMMA. We'll play a couple of musical examples with the amplifier placed directly on the floor, and then we'll move the GRAMMA underneath the cabinet, and you'll hear the differences. So in particular, we're going to look for differences in the low frequencies, and we'll play some chords that are fairly dense because, as you can hear later on, it'll be a lot easier to hear all the individual notes in those chords. Now, if you were listening, you could probably hear that the bass was a lot tighter, and it was easier to hear all the notes. They tended to go together. It sounded more like a chord instead of a bunch of individual notes. So again, we recommend that you go to your music store, your local Auralex dealer, and try out the GRAMMA for yourself.